everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Emma, and as always, I'm here with Jake. Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, Emma. Thanks for asking. I had an interesting morning, actually. I ended up chatting with a complete stranger at the coffee shop, and it kind of inspired today's topic.
Oh, that's perfect, because today we are talking about exactly that, talking to strangers in everyday life. And I know some people are already a little nervous just hearing that phrase. Talk to a stranger? Like, isn't that something our parents told us never to do?
Right, exactly. When we were kids, don't talk to strangers was basically the number one rule. But as adults, it's actually a really important skill. Talking to strangers is something we do all the time. At the bus stop, in a shop, at the gym. It's just part of daily life.
Oh, and it can feel so awkward sometimes, right? Like you're standing next to someone, there's this silence, and you just don't know whether to say something or just stare at your phone.
Oh, I know that feeling. I call it the elevator silence. You know, when you're in a lift with someone and nobody says anything and everyone just looks at the little numbers going up. It's oddly tense for no reason.
The elevator silence. That's such a good name for it. And I think a lot of our listeners, especially those learning English, might feel extra pressure in those moments. Because not only is the social situation a bit uncomfortable, but they also have to think about the language at the same time.
That's a really important point. When you're speaking in your second language, you have this extra layer of stress. You're thinking, what do I say? And at the same time, how do I say it correctly? It can kind of freeze you up. Freeze you up means it stops you from acting, like your brain just locks.
Yes, you kind of overthink it, and then the moment passes and you didn't say anything. So today, we want to help with that. We're going to talk about why talking to strangers is actually valuable, what kinds of situations you might find yourself in, and give you some really practical phrases and tips.
And we'll keep it real. We're not going to give you a list of robotic sentences. We want to talk about how real conversations actually start and how they actually feel.
Exactly. So, Jake, let's start with the basics. Why is it even useful to talk to strangers? Like, why should someone bother?
Good question. So, first of all, it helps you practice English in a real environment. Textbooks and apps are great, but there's nothing quite like a spontaneous, unplanned, in-the-moment conversation with a real person. You can't prepare for every turn the conversation takes, and that's actually what builds confidence.
That's so true. And I think there's also a social side to it. Even if you're not learning a language, talking to people you don't know can just make your day better. Like a small, friendly interaction can genuinely lift your mood.
Absolutely. There's actually research on this. People tend to underestimate how much they'll enjoy talking to a stranger. They think it'll be awkward, but it usually turns out to be pretty pleasant. Humans are social by nature. We actually want connection, even with people we've never met.
So the fear is often bigger than the actual experience. That's reassuring. Now, Jake, you mentioned your coffee shop moment this morning. What actually happened?
So I was waiting for my order. I had ordered a latte, and there was this guy next to me, also waiting, and he had this really cool tote bag with a design I recognized. So I just said, "Hey, is that from the art museum downtown?" And he lit up. He said, "Yes, you know it?" And we ended up talking for like 10 minutes about the museum, about art, about the neighborhood. It was a genuinely great conversation.
I love that. And notice how Jake started. He didn't say some formal opener. He just made an observation. He noticed something specific and commented on it. That's actually one of the best ways to start a conversation with a stranger.
Right. You don't need to introduce yourself first or say, "Hello, excuse me, may I speak with you?" That sounds very stiff. You just react to something in your shared environment, something you're both experiencing at the same time.
Shared environment. I like that phrase. Things around you that you're both seeing or dealing with, like the weather, a long queue, something on the menu, a delayed train.
Exactly.
Those are great conversation starters because they're low pressure. You're just commenting on something obvious. It's not personal, it doesn't feel intrusive, meaning it doesn't feel like you're getting too close or asking too much.
So let's talk about some actual situations. Where do people commonly end up talking to strangers? Let's give our listeners some real scenarios.
Okay, so the classic ones, waiting in line somewhere. A coffee shop, a supermarket checkout, a pharmacy, public transport, on the bus, on the train, at the station, waiting rooms, like at the doctor's or a government office. And then more social settings, a party where you don't know everyone, a class, a community event.
And each of these has a slightly different feel, right? Like talking to someone at a party feels a bit more expected, but starting a conversation at a supermarket might feel a little bolder.
True. Context really matters. At a party, people are already in social mode. They expect to meet new people. But at a supermarket, someone might just be in a hurry. So you read the situation. You look at whether the person seems open or busy.
Read the situation. That's a great phrasal verb. It means you pay attention to the context and the other person's body language to understand what's appropriate. Like, if someone has headphones in and is staring at their phone, probably not the best moment to start chatting.
Yes. Please don't interrupt someone's podcast to make small talk. They are busy learning something.
Fair point. Okay, so let's say someone is open. The situation feels right. What's the actual first thing you say? How do you break the ice?
So break the ice means to get past that initial awkwardness and start talking. And the best openers are usually short, light, and relevant to the moment. Something like, "This queue is moving so slowly, isn't it?" Or, "The weather's been crazy lately, right?" Or if you notice something specific, like I did with the tote bag, you go for that.
Comments and observations work really well. Questions work well too, but you want to make sure they're easy to answer. Open-ended enough that the person can say more than just yes or no, but not so deep that they feel put on the spot.
Put on the spot, like being pressured to answer something unexpected. Yeah, avoid making someone feel interrogated. You're starting a conversation, not an interview.
So something like, "Have you tried the food here before? Any recommendations?" That's easy to answer, it's friendly, and it opens the door for a bit of back and forth.
Perfect example. And then, this is key. You actually listen to what they say. Because conversation is a two-way thing. A lot of people get so focused on what they're going to say next that they stop actually hearing the other person.
That's such a good point. And for English learners especially, sometimes you're so busy mentally preparing your next sentence that you miss what the other person just said, and then the conversation feels disconnected.
Right. So one tip is to relax your grip on the script in your head. You don't need a perfect sentence ready at all times. Sometimes just responding naturally, even with something simple like, "Oh, really? That's interesting," keeps the conversation going.
And little responses like that, "Oh, wow, really? That makes sense. I know what you mean." They show the other person that you're engaged, that you're actually listening.
In conversation, those small responses are called back-channeling. It sounds technical, but it just means the little sounds and words we make to show we're following along. Like, yeah, right, exactly. They're super important.
I actually didn't know the technical term for that, back channeling, but it's something we all do naturally in our first language and kind of forget to do when we're speaking a second language.
Exactly. Because in a second language, you're concentrating so hard on the words that you go a bit quiet, and the other person might think you're not interested. So consciously using those small responses can make a big difference.
Okay, so we've got the opener, we've got the listening part. What about keeping the conversation going? Because sometimes it starts well and then just dies.
Yes, the dreaded awkward silence that signals the conversation is over before you were ready for it to be.
How do you keep things flowing naturally?
So one technique is to answer a question and then bounce it back. Like if someone asks, "Do you come here often?" Classic line, I know. You say, "Yeah, I love this place. I come every Saturday. What about you? Is this your first time?" You give a little bit, then you invite them to share too.
So it's like a rally in tennis. You hit the ball back rather than just letting it drop.
I love that analogy. Exactly. And you can also follow threads, meaning you pick up on something interesting they said and ask more about it. Like if they mention they just moved to the area, you might say, "Oh, nice. Are you settling in okay? What brought you here?"
Following threads shows genuine curiosity, and people love talking about themselves in a good way. Most people enjoy sharing their experiences when someone actually seems interested.
And if you run out of things to say, you can always return to the shared environment. Like bring it back to what's around you. "Oh, look, the menu just changed. Have you noticed that?" Or, "I wonder how much longer this train is going to be delayed."
The shared environment saves you every time. Now, let's talk about something a little different. What if the conversation doesn't go well? What if someone seems uninterested or gives short answers?
That happens, and it's okay. Not everyone wants to chat, and that's their right. The key thing is not to take it personally. Some people are introverted, meaning they find social interaction draining, or they're just having a stressful day. It doesn't mean you did something wrong.
Right. You can try once or twice, and if they're not engaging, you just gracefully let it go. Something like giving a small smile and turning back to what you were doing. No big deal.
And honestly, sometimes people start off a bit closed and then warm up. I've had conversations where the first response was pretty short, but then something clicked and we ended up talking for a while. So don't give up after one short reply necessarily.
That's true. People sometimes need a moment, and your friendly energy can kind of rub off on them. Rub off on means it spreads to them. They pick up on your mood.
Exactly. If you're relaxed and warm, that helps the other person relax too. Body language plays a big role here. Making soft eye contact, smiling, not crossing your arms. Those nonverbal signals say, "I'm friendly. This is safe."
Body language is basically a conversation happening at the same time as the words. And in English-speaking cultures, particularly in places like the UK, the US, Australia, small talk with strangers is pretty common and expected. So if you're in those environments, engaging in it actually helps you fit in.
Though it does vary by region and even by personality type. Like people in big cities are sometimes a bit more reserved, less likely to chat, compared to people in smaller towns or more rural areas.
That's a good cultural note. In London, for example, the stereotype is that people don't talk on the tube, on the underground, the subway. Whereas in some smaller British towns, people chat all the time.
The tube rule is real, though. I grew up in London, and you genuinely just don't make eye contact on the underground. It's like an unspoken agreement.
An unspoken agreement. But I think that's changing a little bit now. I've definitely had conversations on the tube in recent years. Maybe people are getting a bit more open?
Or maybe they're just bored from the delays.
Probably that. Okay, let's talk about some specific phrases our listeners can actually use, like really practical language. Jake, what are some good conversation starters?
All right, so some easy, natural openers. Excuse me, do you know if this place is usually this busy? That works in a cafe or a restaurant. Is this your first time here? Works almost anywhere. I love your jacket. Where did you get it? That's a compliment opener. Works well if you genuinely mean it.
Compliments are great openers, actually. People respond well to sincere compliments. The key word being sincere, genuine, real. Don't just say something nice to start a conversation if you don't mean it, because it can come across as a bit hollow.
Right. And then for keeping it going, so do you live around here or what do you do are pretty classic. Though what do you do, meaning what's your job, can feel a bit personal in some contexts. Better to save it for when the conversation is already flowing.
Good tip. You want to build up to the more personal questions. Start with the situation, then maybe move to preferences and opinions, and then personal details if it feels natural.
It's like peeling layers. You don't go straight to the core. You start on the outside and work your way in.
I love that image. And for wrapping up a conversation, because sometimes you want to end it gracefully, what are some good exit lines?
It was really nice talking to you. Simple, warm, done. Or, I'll let you get back to it. That's a polite way to end things. It acknowledges that they probably have things to do. Or even, well, I think my order's ready, but it was great chatting.
I'll let you get back to it. I use that one a lot. It's friendly and it gives the other person an easy out too, so nobody feels awkward.
Exactly. You're kind of doing them a favor. You're making the ending easy and comfortable for both of you.
Now, I want to ask you something a bit different. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger that turned into something more? Like you stayed in touch or it led somewhere unexpected?
Actually, yes. Years ago, I was at an airport. My flight was massively delayed, like 6 hours. And I ended up sitting next to this woman who was a travel writer. We talked for ages about travel, writing, life. She ended up recommending a book that genuinely changed the way I think about storytelling. We exchanged emails. I read her work for years after that. It started with just, can you believe this delay?
That's such a wonderful story. And it shows that sometimes the most unexpected conversations leave the biggest impressions. You never know who you're sitting next to.
Exactly. And that's kind of a motivating thought, right? Every stranger is a potential interesting story, a new perspective, maybe even a new connection. Most of the time, it'll just be a 5-minute chat, and that's great too. But sometimes, it's more.
I had something similar happen, actually. I was at a local farmer's market, those outdoor markets where people sell fresh produce and homemade things, and I started chatting with the woman selling bread. Turned out she used to be a language teacher. We ended up standing there for half an hour talking about language learning and travel. I nearly forgot to buy the bread.
The most important part of the trip.
I did get the bread eventually, but yeah, it was one of those conversations that just made my whole Saturday better. And it started with something as simple as, oh, did you bake all of this yourself?
See, that's the thing. A genuine question about something you're actually curious about. That's the magic formula right there.
So let's bring it back to our listeners for a moment. If someone is learning English and they're nervous about talking to strangers, what's your number one piece of advice?
Honestly, lower the stakes in your head. Most conversations with strangers are short and low risk. The worst realistic outcome is that someone gives a short answer and the conversation ends. That's it. Nobody is going to laugh at you or judge you for trying. So give yourself permission to try without needing it to be perfect.
That's such good advice. And I'd add, start small. You don't have to have a 10-minute conversation right away. Start with just one comment, one question. Even just a smile and a morning to someone at a shop counts. Build from there.
Small wins add up. Each little interaction builds your confidence for the next one. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And for the language side specifically, don't worry too much about grammar in the moment. Native speakers make grammatical slip-ups all the time. What matters more in casual conversation is being warm, being clear, and showing interest. Those things carry you a lot further than perfect grammar.
Absolutely. Nobody is grading you. They're just talking to you.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's do a little role play. Just a short one to demonstrate how a real conversation might start. You be a stranger. I'll be the one initiating.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'll be a stranger at a bus stop.
Okay. This bus is taking forever today.
I know, right? I've been here for like 15 minutes already. Are you heading into the city center?
Yeah, I am. I've got a meeting at 11. hoping I make it. Do you take this bus often?
Pretty often, yeah. It's usually more reliable than this, to be honest. But when it's late, it's really late.
And out of role play, see how that worked? It was natural, it was easy, it was low pressure. We commented on a shared situation, asked a simple question, and it just flowed.
And notice the language was simple but natural. I've been here for like 15 minutes. Very casual, everyday English. More reliable than this? A bit of comparison. Nothing fancy, but it sounds completely real.
You don't need fancy words for real conversations. You need real words. There's a difference.
Well said. Real words, real tone, real curiosity. That's the recipe.
Okay, let's also quickly touch on the cultural differences, because this matters for our international listeners. In some cultures, talking to a stranger is very natural and normal. In others, it's seen as intrusive or unusual. So if you're in a new country or a new cultural environment, it helps to observe first.
Watch how people around you interact. Do they make eye contact with strangers? Do they smile at people on the street? Do they chat in shops? Those are your cues. You adapt to the local social norms, the unwritten rules about how people behave in social situations.
Social norms. Really important concept. Every culture has them. They're just different. And adapting to them doesn't mean losing yourself. It just means being aware and respectful of the context you're in.
And honestly, as a foreigner or as someone learning the language, people are often more forgiving and more patient than you expect. In my experience, if someone knows you're learning English, most people are happy to slow down, repeat things, even help you find the right word.
That's been my experience too. People appreciate the effort. If you try, that counts for a lot.
And if you don't understand something, it's totally fine to say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" Or, "I'm not sure I caught that. Do you mean..." Those phrases are perfectly natural, and nobody thinks less of you for using them.
I didn't quite catch that. That's a lovely, natural way to ask someone to repeat themselves. Much better than just nodding and pretending you understood.
Oh, the polite nod when you have no idea what was said. We've all been there.
Every single language learner has done the polite nod and then panicked internally.
And then hoped the conversation moved on before they had to respond to whatever they missed.
Exactly. But honestly, it's better to ask. It keeps the conversation real, and it means you actually understand what's happening, which makes everything easier.
Communication is about understanding each other. That's the whole point. So asking for clarification is literally just good communication. It's not embarrassing, it's smart.
Perfectly put. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's do a quick summary before we close out. Jake, what are the key takeaways?
All right. 1. Talking to strangers is a normal and valuable part of daily life, and it's a great way to practice real English. 2. Use your shared environment as a conversation starter. Comment on what's around you. 3. Listen actively and use back-channeling to show you're engaged. 4. Keep early questions light and not too personal. Build up gradually. 5. Don't take it personally if someone doesn't engage. It happens. 6. Lower the stakes. Most interactions are short, friendly, and low risk.
And I'd add, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to ask for repetition. And every little interaction, even a 30-second one, builds your confidence over time.
The goal isn't perfection. The goal is connection.
I love that as a closing thought. The goal is connection. Not perfect grammar, not impressive vocabulary, just genuine human connection. And language is just the tool to get you there.
Exactly. And the more you use the tool, the better you get at it. So go out there and talk to someone today. It might just make their day, and it'll definitely help yours.
All right, everyone. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I hope you feel a little more confident about striking up a conversation. striking up a conversation, meaning starting one, the next time you're out in the world.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And hey, if you try talking to a stranger this week, we'd love to hear how it went. Drop us a message, leave a comment. We genuinely love hearing your stories.
We really do. All right. Take care of yourselves, keep practicing, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye, everyone.